My husband took my sister as his wife. So I became his worst mistake. I knew something was wrong the moment my husband said my sister's name instead of mine. And the worst part is, it wasn't during a fight. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, casual, almost forgettable, like betrayal had learned how to whisper instead of scream. We were sitting at dinner. I had just come home from a long day, exhausted, still trying to be a good wife. And he looked up from his phone and said, "I need your sister to come with me next month." Like he was asking me to pass the salt. And at first I didn't react because my brain refused to process it. But then it hit me, and I asked him why my sister would be going anywhere with him. And that's when he said it. Come. Unapologetic, almost bored, because I told everyone I married her. And just like that, 10 years of marriage collapsed into one sentence. I waited for him to laugh, to take it back, to explain that this was some kind of joke. But he didn't. He just kept eating like nothing had happened, like I was supposed to. Except that my husband had spent a decade telling the world he chose someone else. And not just anyone, my sister. He shrugged it off, said it was easier, said his friends had met her once and assumed she was the one. And instead of correcting them, he built a lie so big that now he needed her to show up and play the role of his wife for one night. And what broke me wasn't just the lie. It was how small he made me feel. Like I was the inconvenience, like telling the truth about me was somehow embarrassing, like I was the other option. And I should have left right there. I should have walked out and never looked back. But the truth is, when you've been in a relationship like that long enough, you don't react the way you should. You hesitate, you question yourself, you try to stay calm. So instead of exploding, I asked him why he couldn't just tell the truth, and he sighed like I was the problem and said, "They think I married someone impressive." And that's when I understood everything. I wasn't just being replaced for a night. I had been erased for years. Something inside me went quiet in that moment. Not angry, not loud, just still. Like a switch flipped and I stopped trying to fix things and started seeing them clearly. So I said yes. I told him I'd help make it believable, and that's when he smiled, relieved, clueless, completely unaware that I had just stopped being his wife and started becoming something else entirely. The next day I came home early without telling them, and I found them sitting together in my living room, rehearsing, not awkwardly, not like two people doing something wrong, but comfortably, naturally, like they had already crossed a line I hadn't even noticed yet. And when I offered to help, they didn't hesitate. They let me sit there and watch as my husband told my story. Our story, the way we met, the way we talked, the exact words I said, the memories I thought were ours. And he handed them to her like they belonged to her now. And when I tried to speak up, he dismissed me, called me controlling, said I was overreacting, while my own sister shrugged and said, "It's just a story." Like my life was something they could borrow and return later. I tried to stay calm. I really did. But then he moved on to the proposal. And that was the moment something inside me cracked, because that night meant everything to me. And he described it perfectly. The place, the ring, the moment he got down on one knee. But in his version, she was the one. Saying yes, she was the one he loved. And I realized I was sitting there watching my own life get rewritten in real time. And neither of them cared. I left the room not because I was weak, but because I needed to think, because people don't just act like that overnight. That kind of comfort, that kind of closeness, it doesn't come from practice. It comes from something that's already been happening, something hidden, something I hadn't been paying attention to. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't about a reunion. This wasn't about a lie. This was about something much deeper, something already in motion. So instead of reacting, I started watching, really watching. And that night I caught them, not in some obvious, dramatic way, but in something worse, something more real. He touched her face like it was natural, like it belonged there, and she leaned into him without hesitation, without thinking. And that's not acting. That's memory. That's habit. That's something that's happened before, many times. And when they saw me, they panicked, started explaining, saying it was just rehearsal, just practice. But I didn't argue, I didn't scream, I didn't cry, because I didn't need answers anymore. I already had them. So instead, I smiled. And I let them believe I believe them, because sometimes the smartest thing you can do is let people think they're getting away with something. And in that moment, everything changed, because I wasn't the confused, quiet wife anymore. I was the one in control, the one who finally saw the truth, and the one who was about to make sure they paid for it. I stopped crying the night I realized they weren't even trying to hide it anymore. They were just waiting for me to stay quiet. That was the moment something inside me shifted. Not heartbreak, clarity. I didn't scream, I didn't beg, and I definitely didn't warn them. I planned. If they wanted a performance, I was going to give them a show they'd never forget. The reunion was in 3 days, and while they were busy rehearsing their fake love story, I was building something real. Evidence, timing, and the perfect entrance. I gathered everything. Messages, screenshots, timestamps, even the small details they thought didn't matter. Every lie they told had a crack, and I followed each one until I had the full picture. Then I reached out to the one person my husband had always hated being compared to, his brother. Not because I needed revenge alone, but because I needed truth to stand next to me when everything exploded. He didn't ask questions, he didn't judge, he just said, "Tell me what you need." And for the first time in a long time, someone was on my side. The night of the reunion arrived, and I made sure I didn't just show up, I made an entrance. I wore confidence like armor, walked in with my head high, and right beside me was the one person my husband could never compete with. The room was loud until it wasn't. Conversations died mid-sentence. I shifted, and then he saw me. The color drained from his face, so fast it almost made me smile. My sister froze, her hand still wrapped around his arm like she belonged there. Like she was me. I didn't rush. I walked straight toward them, every step steady, every second stretching just enough to let the tension build. "Surprised," I said, loud enough for the people around us to hear. He tried to laugh it off, tried to pull me aside, but I stepped back. No more private conversations. No more quiet disrespect. "Why are you here?" he asked, voice already shaking. I tilted my head slightly. "Isn't this where your wife is supposed to be?" Silence. Thick. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Someone nearby whispered, "I thought that was his wife," pointing at my sister. "Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted." I smiled, not kindly. "That's funny," I said, turning just enough for the crowd to catch every word. "Because she's actually my sister." You could feel the shift instantly. Confusion turned into curiosity, curiosity into tension. My husband tried again to shut me down, but I was done being controlled. I pulled out my phone, opened the gallery and held it up. Wedding photos. Real ones. Me in the dress. Him beside me. My sister in the background, smiling as a bridesmaid. 10 years, I said calmly. 10 years of marriage, and somehow you all got the wrong wife. Gasps. Actual gasps. My sister stepped forward, trying to speak, trying to fix it, but the words weren't coming out right anymore. Because lies fall apart when truth walks in uninvited. Then I dropped the second blow. And while I was working, paying for everything, supporting both of them, I paused just long enough. They were busy getting closer than they ever should have. Now the room wasn't just watching, it was reacting. People stepping back, whispering louder, phones slowly coming out. He looked trapped. For once, he didn't have an excuse ready. Didn't have control. I leaned in just slightly, my voice lower now but sharper. "Go ahead," I said to him. "Tell them the story you practiced." He couldn't. Of course he couldn't. Because the truth doesn't need rehearsal, and lies don't survive pressure. My sister started crying, reaching for him, but he stepped back. Not toward her. Not toward me. Just back. That was the moment she realized it. She wasn't chosen. She was convenient. Temporary. Replaceable. And suddenly, the fantasy they built together didn't look so perfect anymore. I straightened up, looked around the room one last time, and then I ended it clean. No screaming. No chaos. Just truth delivered exactly where it hurt the most. "I hope it was worth it," I said quietly, "because you didn't just lose a wife, you lost the only person who was holding your entire life together." I placed the envelope in his hand, divorce papers already signed, and stepped away before he could say a word. The silence behind me was louder than any argument we'd ever had. As I walked out, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Karma had already arrived, and this time, I didn't have to lift a finger to make it happen.